Alright guys, now if you've clicked on this video, I can only assume it's because you want a bigger bench press. Now that I can help you with. In today's video, I'm going to show you and discuss with you how you can utilize dumbbells as the extremely useful tool they are to in fact build a big bench press. Now, I'm also going to discuss how you can implement dumbbells into your current bench press training, and also, importantly, what angles you should utilize when you're pressing. That's important. There's a couple other things I'll share with you too, so it doesn't have to be really complicated. You have to find ways to progress though, so you don't just lift the same weight for the same reps every week. That is not growth. If you're not growing, you're dying and you know it. You don't need fancy stuff, you don't need luxuries. Some of the strongest have been born out of just a necessity to move heavy weights. They didn't care what the it was, and that's real. And welcome back to your mum's favorite channel on YouTube, Cult Strength. Now, today, yet again, I'm here to help you add kilos to your bench press. Now, you may have seen the last couple of bench tutorial-like videos I put up. I have a lot of new subscribers here, so thank you for joining me, and I hope that you get something out of today's video. I'm sure you will. Now, dumbbells, you know, very old school piece of equipment, right? Very underrated and underutilized, in my opinion. You know, they have been a staple in my training since I started, and I cannot see that being any different at any point. You know, so for today's video, the main things that I guess I want to show you is, one, how to do these actual exercises, you know, in a way where it's truly going to help your bench press and truly going to help you grow muscle, because that's also important when it comes to getting a big bench, right? And the nuances of what angles should we be utilizing when we're doing this. And I'm going to discuss this with you now before we start, okay? So let's break it down. Most of us, you know, we're bench press enthusiasts, meaning that we bench press quite a lot. Most of our bench press is done on a flat bench, okay? So we do a lot of flat bench barbell work. So if we're already doing a lot of flat bench dumbbell work, we still need to think about utilizing other angles to build strength and mass, okay? So how can we do that? Now, when I'm doing dumbbell pressing, I spend all of my time on an incline or overhead, okay? I don't do any flat dumbbell pressing. I don't see a point. You know, there's multiple reasons. One, you know, I'm working those exact muscles when I'm bench pressing, okay? But when I use an incline or an overhead, again, I'm using more of my upper chest on the incline and more of my delts and shoulders on the overhead. And let me tell you right now, although, for example, the overhead press may not directly help the bench press, building strong, stable shoulders absolutely does, okay? So we just have to think there's some things we can do for, you know, instant gratification in a sense, and there's things that we can do now to plant seeds for further growth in the future. So that's why it's important that we train our dumbbells and our accessories correctly. What we'll start with is the incline dumbbell press. I'm going to give you a demonstration, and we'll keep talking as we go. There's a few things that I would like to show you today. Two different dumbbell presses, and there's also, you know, two sorts of rows that we can do with dumbbells, because again, as you might have seen in one of my last videos I did talking about big back, big bench, right? We can never have a big enough back when it comes to having a big bench. The bigger your back is, the potential for your bench is just going to be higher. That's how it works. So we can also use dumbbells to grow some fucking wings, all right? We'll start here. We've got 40 kilo dumbbells today just for demonstration's sake, and we'll talk through how I'm going to execute this in a moment, right? So we'll get them set up. Yeah, all right. So, you know, I'm sure we've all seen people doing dumbbell presses in different ways. We all have our own ways of doing things. You know, I'm simply here to show you what I believe is the most efficient and effective way to utilize dumbbells to grow a big bench, okay? And they can definitely help. They can definitely help. So some of the little nuances that might be a little different to what you may be familiar with is, one, full range of motion. When we bench press, you know, we aren't thinking about necessarily using a full range of motion. Most of the time we're trying to reduce the range of motion so we can maximize the weight on the bar. There's nothing wrong with that. If we're competitive lifters, you know, you don't get more points because you move the bar further. Whoever lifts the most weight wins, right? So our bench press training specifically is about moving the most amount of weight possible. When we're doing accessories, however, it's not quite the same. We're thinking about taking the joint, the muscle through a full range, so we have healthy, balanced muscles, healthy joints. Okay, we don't want imbalances. We don't want joints that are only used to working through a very limited range. That's not strong, and it's not gonna help you in the long run. Okay, so when I do a dumbbell press, the dumbbell head starts on my shoulder. It's touching my shoulder or my upper chest, depending on what angle I'm using, and I'm locking it out all the way, okay? On a bench press, we're trying to utilize an arch. We're using thoracic, extension to reduce the range of motion so we can move more weight. This is just kind of like the opposite. And in terms of how I'm holding the dumbbells, I'm gonna talk you through that as we go. We're gonna do a set of 10 now, and then we'll chat after. We're starting, dumbbells touching my shoulders, right? Full extension, full lock. Full range of motion. And see, I'm holding the dumbbells. I'm not flaring my elbows. I'm not turning them all the way in. We're sitting in a nice, comfortable position about halfway. Full extension. Touching the shoulders every fucking rep. No fucking cutting corners here. All right. Okay. So, easy work, right? Full range of motion, and there's no reason as to why you shouldn't. We will at some point discuss when would the time and place be to utilize a partial. Before you get defensive, right? There is a right way, I believe, and a wrong way, and I will explain it to you. But we'll take a minute, we'll do one more set of these, and then we'll move on to the next one. Let's go. All right, guys, so let's quickly discuss progression with dumbbells as well, because some people struggle with this. It's hard sometimes to increase the weight you're using week to week when we're doing dumbbell pressing, because we still need to think about progression, just like we would with our squat, bench, or deadlift, okay? When we program, for a certain block, we obviously plan to have a starting point and an end point. We have a goal we want to finish on with a certain weight or reps. The same rules apply for your accessories, believe it or not. You can't just do them without a plan and hope for the best, unfortunately. That's not how this works. So there's ways to progress, regress, make things harder, etc., without necessarily using more weight, because sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes you don't have heavier weights that you can use that are available to you. I have that problem here at my own gym. I have 50 kilo dumbbells, but realistically, they're not really heavy enough for me. I can easily do sets of 20 with that. So there's certain things that I can do to make those 50 kilo dumbbells feel heavy enough to get something out of. What are you talking about, Reese? Well, fuck yous, I'm gonna explain, right? A good way to make a dumbbell press harder, add a tempo, add a pause, right? There's two very easy ways to have now made my 50 kilo set of dumbbells harder than just doing regular dumbbell press. Doing tempos, doing a 4-second eccentric with a press, very difficult. If you wanna make it, specific to a pause bench press, bring it down, pause on your chest. Press, again, that's more difficult, okay? How else can we make a progression? Well, let's say you have 3 sets of 10 for 3 weeks in a row, and you've gotten to week 3 and you can't progress the weight. Well, sometimes it's okay to either do an extra rep or an extra set, right? You've now increased your volume, that's progression, and that's all it is, right? So it doesn't have to be really complicated. You have to find ways to progress though, so you don't just lift the same weight for the same reps every week. That is not growth. If you're not growing, you're fucking dying and you know it. We'll give you one more demonstration now. What I'm also gonna do towards the end of the set, we'll pretend that I've reached failure with the 40s. I'm gonna show you how I would do a partial if I was gonna do partials. A way that is scientifically backed, in a sense that this will actually help you with gains, right? The way a lot of people do partials, it's wrong simply because they've just picked up weight that's too heavy and they literally cannot move it through a full range of motion. They just can't because they're not strong enough. So So I'll explain the difference in a moment, and it's going to be very fucking helpful, I think. And if you are someone who does partials, please don't get defensive and don't be offended. I'm not here for that. I'm here to show you the fucking way so you can get better, okay? I've also done things in my life that were wrong, and I've learnt better, and I've grown. So that can be you too. All right, so we'll do another set of these. And if you struggle with something as simple as how do you get the weights up to your chest, I put them, pretty close to my knees, and I'm gonna lie back and simply kick my knees up and catch them in my chest. Real easy. All right. Starting from the chest again, we're on the chest. If you want to add a tempo, want to add a pause, right? Let's say I'm so hard I'm going to fail, but I want to get a couple more reps out. I want to finish this set with full intensity. What am I going to do? I'm not going to do this. You look like a fuckhead. This is what you're going to fucking do, like a man. You get it in your chest, you're like, fuck, it's heavy. Okay, I couldn't do it, it's too heavy. Not really though, but you get the gist, right? Why is it better to do your partials through this range than this range? Full stretch. When you're here, your muscles are in a full stretch position. So when you're trying to press under a full stretch position, you're going to do more metabolic damage to your muscles, which is leaving you with a much higher potential for muscle growth. All right, I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, fucking drop a comment. I'll fucking do my best to answer you, but also make sure you're subscribed and you like this video. We've got one more pressing movement now. We'll chat in a sec. All right, guys, now next up, we're going to talk about how to properly perform a seated dumbbell overhead press. But first, I want to discuss with you, how you can properly implement, dumbbell training with your bench press to grow your bench. How to have a real solid plan and a foundation that's going to work. Now, what I recommend for 99% of people, right, would be this. I would always recommend that most people bench twice per week. One bench day being geared towards something a little bit heavier with more of a competition focus in mind, or a regular competition grip in mind. So a slightly wider grip, your normal bench press, right? But I'd also recommend that you have a secondary bench press day, whereas depending on where you're at in your training cycle, it could be, it's definitely going to be a lighter high volume day, but you could have a variation of bench press such as close grip, a tempo bench press, a spotto press, or maybe even incline bench press, okay? Now, what we want to pair these bench press movements with is your dumbbells. So we would be utilizing dumbbells twice a week also. On, let's say, your first bench press day, you might want to hit the incline dumbbell. But on your secondary bench day, we'd want to utilize the overhead dumbbell. So that way, each week, you've now hit plenty of flat bench, you've hit incline bench and overhead press. So that is a very well balanced approach to training, okay? And I think in terms of longevity and long-term goals, if you can set your training up like that, you're setting yourself up for success. Now there's people where benching twice a week may not be suitable, and I'll give you an example. Right now that would be myself, okay? I'm close to competition, so all my bench press sessions are 200 kilograms plus. So at the moment I'm benching every 4 to 5 days. But if you rewind 3 months to when I was at the beginning of my training cycle and I wasn't lifting as relatively heavy for myself, I was benching twice per week. I was doing, let's say, a Monday and a Thursday bench press day, and I would utilize dumbbell pressing and a lot of back work on both of those days as well. So that's how I would implement dumbbells into your training, if you're fucking serious about getting big. As I always say, It may not always be flash and it may not be pretty, but it fucking works. Time and time again. You don't need to reinvent the wheel because this shit fucking works. You know what I'm saying? Don't fix what ain't broken. Now, I'm just gonna give you an example of, we'll just go one set of dumbbell press overhead. Okay, just so you can get an idea of how I'm gonna perform it. Again, very similar to the incline. The rules stay the same. Full range of motion starting on my shoulder, pressing over my head. Now, if you come around this way, please, M, the angle of the bench press, of the bench. Now, typically, this is the angle I will use. You know, you could say that technically, some people will say this is what you should do shoulder press on. I disagree. For most people, especially people with a fair bit of muscle mass, you will find that the position of this bench, the angle you're pressing on, can sometimes impinge and play up with the shoulders. Okay, so for most people, I would utilize an angle just a little less acute than that. Okay, so this is what I like to use. I'm going to show you a set of these now. Pay attention again to the range of motion, and maybe I'll do a couple of fake partials again at the end of this set so you can see what that would look like when done properly, because I get it, right? I don't plan to do partials, but there's definitely times that I do them because I'm like doing a set and I want to fucking chase a filthy pump, or I've got something to get out of my system, so I'm pushing to failure with lighter weights. You know what I mean? So I guess it's okay to hit failure with lighter weights in that sense. You're doing sets of 15 to 20 and you fail on your 17th rep. That's very different to failing rep 2 on a bench press. So I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Not fail the bench press. How to utilize partials. You know what I'm saying? You saw me fail the bench press yesterday. It's not very good. So same thing. Now, I find that it's a little harder to get the dumbbells up for the shoulder press. You have to get them up a little higher, but same rules apply. Sometimes you can even kick forward further and then go back, right? Starting on the shoulder. Full press. It's getting so hard. I want to push out a couple more. Oh man, it's so hard. It's so heavy. But as you can see, that's how we want to perform a dumbbell press. Now, rep ranges, sets, again, it's going to be different. As I said before though, structure your training so there is progression. You might want to start your training block with sets of 20. I do. It's great for work capacity. It's great for hypertrophy. Fuck people that say you can't grow with sets of 20 to 30. You absolutely can. Holy shit. Utilize those rep ranges, trust me, occasionally. But I don't go less than 6 usually ever, unless I'm fucking around like an idiot, right? Most of my rep ranges between 10 to 15, sometimes 20, sometimes 8, but it always starts beginning of the training cycle with higher reps, and as you move through, obviously it goes down to heavier weights with less reps. So I hope that helps. To finish this video off though, we've still got a couple more things I want to show you. Just 2 exercises for your back that you can utilize dumbbells with. Excellent exercises. Again, before I had all this fancy cable machines, apparently some people think cable machines are too fancy. Before I had those luxuries, I used dumbbells and I used barbells. I did just fine. I was still a big strong motherfucker. You don't need fancy stuff, you don't need luxuries. Some of the fucking strongest motherfuckers have been born out of just a necessity to move heavy weights. They didn't care what the fuck it was. And that's real. We're back in a sec. All right guys, now we're going to finish off with a couple of back exercises. Now I know I did my video the other day, showing you how to use the cables, my favorite back exercises. But although they're my favorite back exercises, for a variety of reasons, I still use dumbbells on a regular basis because they're also my favorite back exercises for a variety of reasons. Now, the cables outweigh the dumbbells for me simply based on the fact that, they're allowing me to take the load off my lower back. For example, I don't have to do bent over rows. You know, I can do a seated row, you know what I'm saying? But there are still ways that we can, you know, avoid using our lower back when it comes to doing dumbbell stuff. We can do dumbbell bent over rows. We can also do chest supported rows. Okay, so I'm gonna show you today, you know, a bent over row with a dumbbell, because a very excellent exercise for building mass on your back. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Heavy rows are fucking unreal. Old school, hardcore fucking rows, that's the real deal. Okay, so don't go thinking that they're not good. They're fucking amazing, but their downside is that if you do a lot of heavy squatting and deadlifting, that you don't necessarily feel like loading your lower back on another day of the week. Okay, that sucks. So that's why I utilize cables a little more, but still, I'm gonna show you how to do this properly. Again, full range of motion, full stretch is very important here. I'm not doing short, choppy reps. I'm allowing the dumbbells to take my lats and my scaps through a full range, which is very important when it comes to building muscle, as you fucking hear me say all the time. I'm not a bodybuilder. I've never done bodybuilding, and I've never really focused on hypertrophy per se. But I've gotten this fucking big just by being a strength fucking enthusiast and lifting weights through a full range of motion, progressively getting heavier over time. Okay, I'm not trying to find little cheats and hacks to add a bit of mass here and there. I focus, you know, solely on the tried to true basics, the things that just work time and time again. We don't need to come up with new random bullshit to try and get an edge. That's just not how shit works. People spend all their time on these 1%ers, but they forget to do the basics, which is 99%, right? Get the fucking basics right, and then if for some reason that's not enough for you, hey, go and fuck around a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You at least got to earn that right. Jesus. Bent over rows. Let's do a set. I'm going to get you to film just on the side angle just here, so you can see the range of motion, and you can see there's not too much, you know, flexion through my lower back. I'm not rounding. I'm keeping a nice strong core and a nice relatively neutral spine for what I'm doing. We go 8 to 10 reps. 40 kilo dumbbells. All right. Now from this position, I'm going to push my hips back and essentially let these dumbbells hang down to the floor, almost like a stiff-legged deadlifter in RDL. All right. Slightly in front. An excellent exercise, a very uncomfortable exercise, being bent over like that. I'm not used to being bent over. Are you? I mean, I do deadlift though. At least it's conventional. See? Not good, but also good. So, you know, when we're doing bent over rows, the full range of motion, I'm going to show you quickly what I don't want you to do, because I see this in the gym bro community all the time. Again, partials for the wrong reasons. I'm just going to do a few reps. I fucking kid you not. Don't do it. God damn it. I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to show you, you know, a chest supported row, which I believe is very, very similar to this, but it takes your lower back out of the equation, which for me is fantastic, and it could be for you too. Let's go. All right, guys, now before we move on to our final exercise, I would just quickly like to say again, please like this video, drop a comment, subscribe. You know, if any content ideas, anything you want me to cover on this channel, again, please make suggestions. Like, I'll be honest with you, I'm making a lot of videos at the moment, right? So I'm always up for suggestions, for ideas. I enjoy making content. You know, I enjoy putting this out there for you guys. I want to help. So to be able to help, I need to know what you want to see. So please, you know, don't be afraid. Drop a comment and I'll always do my best to reply. In saying that, channel's kind of taken off in the last 4 or 5 days, and I've been getting literally hundreds and hundreds of comments every day, which I love, but it's taken me hours a day to reply to everybody, which I'm happy to do, but just understand that if I don't for some reason, I simply probably haven't seen it, but I will work on getting to it, promise. So I always promised myself that, and I promised you guys that from the beginning, although, you know, my goal was to always grow this channel and make it big. You know, I always wanted to stay in touch with you guys because I genuinely do care, and I want to see you guys, you know, grow, get better, get stronger, and you know, keep that line of contact that we can communicate. If you want to go further than that, if you really do love my channel and you want to support Cult Strength, you can head to my Patreon. Now, I upload exclusive content onto my Patreon. That content is based around mentality and mindset and utilizing, you know, mental tools to achieve what we want, whether it's in the gym or in life, you know, and that costs around the same as a cup of coffee a week. That's the Cult Disciple tier. And again, only if you enjoy my channel and you really get something out of it and you're in the position where you can support, you know, the channel in that way. You know, if that's not you, then again, please just liking this video and watching my content and engaging with me on here, that means a lot to me. So thank you. Last exercise, chest supported rows. Now, if there was an exercise that you are strict with, you have no real choice with the chest supported row. The other day I spoke about, you know, is it important to be strict when we're doing certain exercises? And the answer is, it depends on your version of strict. There needs to be some form of movement through most things to achieve a proper range of motion. However, with the chest supported row, because our torso simply cannot move, this is all on your lats and on your rear delts and on your back. It is an extremely difficult variation of a row to do. It is the hardest variation of a row that you can do, and extremely valuable. You know, this is an extreme mass builder for the back. It's very uncomfortable. You know, you can't breathe. Your fucking stomach and chest is on the bench, and you've got weight in your hand, so it feels very uncomfortable, but definitely worth it. I'm going to do a set of these again, strict but full range of motion, okay? And our aim is to essentially row those dumbbells up as high as you can, okay? As high as you can. If you can get them to touch the bench, that's fantastic. And you know, failure on these exercises looks a little bit different. Sometimes you will be doing partials simply because you cannot get the dumbbells up to the bench. It's very taxing, very challenging. So I implore you to give it a try. Best way to set it up, again, 45-degree bench. I lift the dumbbells up onto the little bar there so I can reach them easier. You do you, baby. Oh, sometimes you might need a bit of a hand to get the dumbbells, but you're okay today. So, full stretch. And I'm almost pulling my elbows back a little bit, right? Into my ribs. Chest supported row, you know. There is 4 exercises that are integral in building a big bench press. I have utilized these exercises for the entire time that I've been a competitive powerlifter. I'm good at what I do, you know what I'm saying? And there's a reason I do these exercises, and there's a reason that they've been around for a long time. They work. So you don't need to waste your time on fads, on trends, watching influencers. Now, I don't call myself an influencer, man. Like, if I influence you in a positive way, fantastic. I'm a strength coach, I'm a competitive athlete, and I enjoy making content to help people get stronger. I'm not trying to sell you lies. You know, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not trying to say I made this shit up. I didn't. I learned all of this from someone else. You know what I'm saying? And I'm passing it on to you. You can learn all this and then pass it on to someone else. And that's how it should work. You know what I mean? It's a community, and we all want to get strong. And trust me, there's plenty of room for everybody to get strong. The world ain't that fucking big. Because believe it or not, when people get big and jacked, most of the time, they really don't feel like they have to prove anything else to anyone else. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's a little more chill. People tend to say I am one of the kindest and quietest people in the room. And that is true most of the time. Unless I don't, you know, unless someone's done something that would mean that I don't have to be that person anymore, but it's just how it goes. You know, you build discipline as well, you build character, you build all sorts of things through experience, through voluntary fucking labor and pain, such as lifting weights. But that's enough for me today. Hope you enjoyed this. I've got a whole bunch of content coming out the next week. I think tomorrow's deadlift day. And next week, you know, I'm gonna do a squat tutorial, how to increase your squat instantly. And another bench press video, we're gonna talk about, you know, the best bench press variations that you can do besides just a regular flat bench. Because there's many good ones, many shit ones. And I'm gonna show you exactly which ones you should focus on. So until next time, go to the fucking gym. Let's do it.